Yo peeps, welcome to the Conspiracy Cupboard. Today we're going to be looking at 10 mysterious times that aliens have gone to school. Let's get into this, shall we? Cue the title sequence. There we go. So if you're listening on Spotify, thank you very much. I know I've got 8 followers over there. Rocking it. Come on. And if you are watching on YouTube, thank you very much for subscribing. Thank you very much for checking out the channel. So we're sort of in a bit of hiatus, aren't we, at the minute, between David Grush's statements and these other UFO sightings and stuff. And I'm not going to cover the other one in Las Vegas because I personally believe that it's a bit of a hoax, a load of rubbish, to be quite fair. This lad phoning up and stuff. Yeah, the police went out, they took it seriously. I mean, they saw this ball of light, as they claimed it was a meteor, and you know, that's what they saw streaking across the skies, and it was picked up all across the west coast of America there. So what I thought I'd do for you today is run down the top sort of 10 times that aliens have visited schools on our planet, or visited school children. And surprisingly enough, it goes back a very long way. And the first account that I can find is in 1948. So here we go. So first off then, we have Grenlock Elementary School. So in 1948 then, a 9-year-old girl named Linda was walking home from school for her lunch break with a friend in Grenlock, Scotland. By the way, there's lots of cases coming up in Scotland. Just get ready, I wasn't expecting this. They both heard a strange buzzing noise and looked up to see multiple flying saucers in the air. The UFOs were flying so low that they could see occupants inside, but they couldn't make out physical features. Instead of fleeing scared, they treated it like any child would seeing a low-flying airplane or a hot air balloon. They began jumping up and down, waving their arms in the air and shouting to the UFOs. Apparently, the occupants inside, the aliens, waved back. Linda reports that the UFOs continued to follow them on their walk home as if they were being observed. Then they flew away and disappeared. This sounds like a story a child could easily make up for attention. However, in 1948, the odds of a 9-year-old girl knowing what the stereotypical UFO would look like seems very low. I mean, there wasn't any films out at the time with flying saucers in. This is 1948. It's not long after the war. It's in Scotland. So, hey, very credible. So that's number 1 there. So let's have a look at number 2. So another case from Scotland then. Elder Park Primary. In 1952 in Glasgow, Scotland, Joan Torrance was walking home with her friends from Elder Primary School. It was about 4 p.m. in the early summer. So the sun was still very bright in the sky. Joan had just made it across the playground when the sky suddenly went dark. Her friends didn't seem to notice as they continued walking. Joan turned around to look back at the school. She saw a sombrero-shaped silver saucer hanging above the building. It was so large that it blocked out the sunlight. The janitor and one teacher came outside and stared up at the UFO. To Joan, she felt frozen in place and stared up at the UFO. It began to rotate, and time stood still for her. In a blink of an eye, she could hear a whistling sound, and the ship blasted back into the sky. So when she got home then, Joan told her mother exactly what had happened, but she didn't believe it, obviously. But the next day, the newspapers report that the locals in the town had seen a flying saucer. See, another one in Scotland for you. Okay, so this time it's Glasgow, that's 1952. So as I'm doing as well in sort of episodically, I'm doing 1944 to 1961, covering those. So this is why I'm piecing some of these events in here. So, you know, you'll have heard of a couple of them when I start bringing them up, but I'm guessing you've not heard of all of these. So that's 2 from Scotland. Okay, so no UFO landing, but obviously they've seen a UFO. So next we have Hillsdale College then. So one evening in March 1966, a young female student of Hillsdale College in Michigan was leaving her dorm when she saw a large glowing disc hovering above the campus. She called the police and an officer named William Van Horn showed up. Roughly 100 students poured out of the dorm to witness this UFO, so a mass sighting. This glowing object began to move towards a nearby swamp and then flew in the night sky. And if this story sounds familiar, it's because it was covered by Project Blue Book. So after receiving the report from Officer Van Horn, the representative from the US Air Force, named Dr. A. Hynek, showed up to examine the area. During the press conference, he claimed that he found no evidence of any spacecraft whatsoever and theorized that the students saw burning swamp gas. Dr. Hynek received a lot of public backlash for that comment, which forced him to do more investigation. He tested the soil near the swamp area and the students claimed, obviously, where the UFO had landed, and he found that the dirt contained abnormally high amounts of radiation, as well as boron, which is an element used for nuclear energy. Dr. Hynek tried to brush it off once again, saying it must have been a prank with fireworks from some local college boys. Now, as we know, okay, with this story, with the Hillsdale one, Dr. Hynek later on admitted that he didn't think it was a ball of gas. He admitted that they saw something strange that night. Obviously, this was years after he came out of Project Blue Book, because as we know, while he was in Project Blue Book, he was deliberately trying to cover up things for the government and go out and tell us that whatever it was we were seeing was perfectly natural, or there was an explanation to it. So there we go, Hillsdale College. Next. So next we have Westall High, which occurred in the same year as the Hillsdale College sighting. In April, so 1 month after, 1966, a class of students were outside getting exercise at Westall High School in Melbourne, Australia, so the opposite side of the world, when they saw a silver flying disc above them. The disc would alternate between moving so quickly that it practically teleported and hovering almost completely still. A few students rushed inside to tell their friends. More and more people began to come outside to see this UFO, totaling over 200 witnesses, both teachers and students. The UFO eventually descended into the woods, then it shot back up, turned on its side, as Bob Lazar has described, and then completely disappeared in a flash of light. Students and teachers of Westall High weren't the only ones to see this. One witness from the town ran to the area of the woods where the UFO appeared to go down. And sure enough, there was a large circle in the grass where it had been pushed down, so a crop circle. Something very heavy had landed recently there. He tried to visit a second time and came face to face with armed men in military uniforms. Surprise, surprise. They were checking the ground for radiation with a Geiger counter. According to National Geographic, the government flight records for that day have been destroyed. Wonder why? So there has never been any conclusive answer to what the silver disc actually was. Surprise, surprise. Well, I mean, obviously now with David Grush coming forward, we're going to find out everything, aren't we? Congress and stuff are going to meet. The UK government will come forward. This Five Eyes project are going to, step up and say what they've been learning and what they've been researching about. And, tell us all that we're not alone in this universe. Then again, pigs might fly. I might win the lottery, and I could become YouTube famous. So if any one of those three happens, then the other one might happen. So okay, that's 1966 then. So let's get on to the next one. So Whippingham Primary School then. This is just a year later. This is 1967. So two boys attending the Whippingham Primary School of the Isle of Wight in 1967 were on the school grounds when they noticed ash and sparks falling from the sky around 8:45 a.m. They looked up and saw a large UFO. They described it as being milky white because it reflected the surrounding clouds in order to sort of blend in, so some kind of Klingon cloaking technology, I assume. As the day progressed, the boys looked out the classroom window. They could still see it hovering and moving very slowly. It seemed to be out of control, losing altitude and stopping every so often. Eventually it began to rise and flew away. On the bus ride home, one of the boys glanced at the cornfield across the street from the school. Stalks had been pushed down as if something had crashed in the field. The boys told their parents, who called the police to investigate. Investigators looked at the cornfield and sure enough there were crop circles in a vortex pattern. So again, crop circles coming from UFOs, from either crashes, from landings, from them flying over. Now, I will be doing a episode on crop circles. I'm hoping at some point to maybe visit Wiltshire or some other areas where there's high deposits of clay in the UK to see if we can capture any crop circles forming, or if I can catch anyone doing them. We do know that there is people out there that go out there and make crop circles. I honestly think that's part of the conspiracy to cover them up more, because crop circles, as we know, we don't know where they come from. They've been reported for hundreds of years. There's reports in old newspapers from the medieval times about the mowing devils who would come around and mow down the crops. But the seeds from the crops that are actually in proper crop circles produce higher yield proteins in their wheat and their barley. They flourish more when the area is reseeded. It grows better from the radiation that's left. So there's definitely something in these crop circles. So let's have a look at the next visit then. So next up we have Crestview Elementary School then. The National UFO Reporting Centre was established in 1974 to collect sightings from witnesses who were rejected by traditional media outlets. One of these stories happened in Miami, Florida, in Crestview Elementary School in 1967. According to the witnesses, over 100 children and teachers were playing outside at recess. I'm guessing the children were playing, unless the teacher was playing hopscotch with them or something. It was 1967. Let's not actually. In fact, let's not unpack that there. That was the time Jimmy Savile was around. I'm going to stop now. Okay. Right. In Miami, Florida, at Crestview Elementary School in 1967, according to one witness, over 100 children and teachers were playing outside at recess when 3 oval-shaped flying saucers broke through the clouds. One of the UFOs was as big as a cruise ship, and the other 2 were much smaller. The teachers were frantic, unsure of what to do. The big ship landed in a field near the school. The other 2 ships disappeared from view, and the children were told to run back to their homes immediately. It said Jim will fix it on the side. I'm not sure what that had to do with it. A couple of students jumped onto their bikes, and instead of heading home, they rode towards the UFO landing site as fast as they could. Typical kids. Don't go near the UFO. They always go near the fucking UFO. Every bloody time, Don't go in that dark room. Okay, go in the dark room, Stay in the car. There's a monster inside the house. Okay, go inside the house. There was no aircraft in the field when they got there, but the ground looked burnt and the grass was pushed down. So again, some kind of crop circle or some kind of impact from something landing. The next day, uniformed men from the government were surveying the area. Local reporters, the Miami Herald, interviewed the boys on the bikes. Instead of reporting the boys' testimonies about UFOs, the newspaper claimed that 3 helicopters had scared teachers and students that day. So another cover-up then, another thing starting, obviously, in the press. And I'll just like to say, I can't confirm that Jimmy Savile was anywhere near this event at all. So I'm sure the kids were safe, and none of their teachers were on any kind of sex offenders register. Okay. Next. So now we're going over to Wales then. So it was 1977 and it is Broadhaven Primary School. So we've got some drawings on here from Broadhaven of what the children saw as well. This is in Wales. No sheep were harmed in the making of this programme. All sports activities had been stopped cold as a group of boys were staring at a silver craft with a dome in the middle. It landed across the field from the schoolyard. They saw a man walk outside of the craft, but he was too far away to make out any details of his face. When the UFO flew away, the boys bolted back to school and began to frantically tell the headmaster what had just happened. He told them to calm down and interviewed the boys one by one. Each of the students drew pictures of the UFO, as you can see here, and all of them had the same story to tell. The boys weren't the only ones. A woman named Rosa Granville was living in Broadhaven. Soon after the craft left the school, she saw it land at a hotel. Well, he must have got the wrong address. Obviously, they pulled up next to the school because, you know, Google Maps wasn't around then. So they're going off, you know, old technology. They needed the hotel because, you know, you've been on a long journey. It's a long trip from Zeta Reticuli, or, you know, could have been further away. We don't know where they came from. I'm not going to assume any genders or any species on anyone. You know, they could have come from anywhere. And obviously, you know, they got the wrong address. So now they're at the hotel, which was on the edge of the seaside cliff. Makes perfect sense. She got close enough to see faceless humanoid men inside. Soon after, a red rash like radiation poisoning began to form on her face, and on the ground where the UFO had landed was burnt. A few days later, two men in black suits showed up and asked her questions. Years after Rosa's death, her daughter Francine was getting ready to sell the hotel. Local media asked to interview her about her mum's alien sighting. She had no idea her mother had seen a UFO because she'd never talked about it. According to Francine, Rosa was a very serious and level-headed woman. She has never lied about anything and would never lie about something like that. So, you know, all jokes aside, obviously she, you know, obviously let them in and they've paid her with radiation. That's a bit... That's not on, is it? That's not on. You know, if you're running a hotel and you get aliens as a guest, I recommend some kind of, you know, lead suit just in case they do this. So, you know, if you've got a TripAdvisor review you'd like to leave about your stay as an alien, or, you know, as, you know, the landlord of that hotel there, you know, you're running the hotel, let us know your feedback. Did you get any radiation burns from these aliens being in? You know, how do they pay? You know, is it PayPal? Is it, you know, debit, credit? What do they do? You know, maybe they just mine some gold. That's acceptable currency, isn't it? So let's go on to the next one then. So this is Aberdeen Elementary then. I'm chucking this one in because we don't have a date for this, so I thought I'd just mix this into the bunch. So Jane Freeman was playing at school in Scotland. Another one in Scotland again. This is like, what, 4 or 5 in Scotland? When she noticed a silver flying disc in the sky. Nothing remarkable happened and no one else was there to see it. The UFO flew away. Even though she had never thought about it before that day, she suddenly had an interest in space and looking for knowledge about life on other planets. A few years later, her parents had moved to the new family house in England. Well, sensibly moved. Anyway, in the middle of the night, Jane heard a noise and looked out of the window to see a UFO shaped like a swollen pancake. She happily ran outside and was greeted by an alien who looked like a human man wearing a black suit. Well, you know, you're in England now. Maybe that's just a formal dress alien. As an adult, As an adult, the same humanoid aliens apparently visit her a few more times. Her descriptions of the event align with other stories by apparent abductees, but there were never any other witnesses to her claims. So that's why I'm just throwing this one in there. So it started off obviously when she was at school. There's again no evidence for stuff. A lot of alien abductee sightings, or, you know, this is why I'm doing a couple of these ones, because some of them you've got over 100 witnesses to things. Then you've got the individual stories. So we see it from all sides. And yeah, I'm making light of a few of these, but, you know, I have my own personal stories, which I will be sharing again on here and putting some bits of information of why I'm obviously interested in this. And the paranormal, because I've got experiences where I've been physically hurt by a ghost. But I think it all ties in, and you've got to take the personal experience from somebody. You don't have to necessarily believe it. You know, someone saw a flying disc, then they're saying they've seen humanoid aliens, then they've, you know, interacted with them more. Presumably, alien-human hybrid thing, I suppose, is what they're trying to get at. So, hey, who knows? Right, next one. And believe it or not, we're back in Scotland again. Yeah, this is St Mark's Primary School. So in 1978 then, a group of school children were they must love Scotland. They must love Scotland. Sorry, I'm going off track. We're playing outside at St Mark's Primary School in Glasgow, Scotland. I mean, I've gone to Glasgow again. Maybe it's the booze. They like the whiskey. They all witnessed a silver UFO shining in the sky, hovering above the school. One of the boys, named Ewan Riley, described it as being shaped like 2 fedora hats joined together. Compared to other UFO sightings, this one was relatively small, at only 1.2 metres, about 4 feet across. None of the teachers witnessed this. When the kids tried to tell them of what they saw a UFO, they were brushed off as having an overactive imaginations. Although in 1993, Riley was interviewed for a local newspaper. He maintained that the UFO he saw that day was real. It left such an impression on him that the image of it remained ingrained in his brain, even all those years later. So again, you've got individual accounts from people, and it shows it does affect you. If you've ever seen something like this, I've seen strange things in the sky, and I can remember exactly what I've seen, but to try and describe it to someone sometimes is almost impossible. So, right, next. So, last but not least then, the one that you've all probably heard of, it's the Ariel School encounter in Zimbabwe. So in 1994 then, a class of 62 children at Ariel Elementary School in Zimbabwe were playing outside during recess. The teachers were distracted indoors having a meeting. The kids all heard high-pitched whistling noise followed by a flash of light. A silver UFO landed in, well, I believe it was just behind the schoolyard, and several aliens came out of the craft. A lot of the children that ran over to have a look at the UFO landing felt that they were paralysed, and all they could do was stare at the aliens with big black eyes. Images began flashing in the children's minds as the aliens spoke to them telepathically. One girl explained that the aliens told her that humans were not taking care of the planet properly, which is a message that echoes through a lot of alien encounters, and the world was going to end. Well, at some point, I assume it probably will. Her mind was filled with images of trees dying and oxygen on Earth running out. When the aliens left, the children could move again. They all started screaming and running back to the schoolhouse to tell their teacher what happened. A couple of the prefects had to go in previously to get one of the teachers just to even leave the room because they didn't believe a couple of the kids that were running in telling them that they'd seen these things. So a couple of days later then, Dr. John Mack, a physician from Harvard University, visited Ariel School to interview the children and teachers. The interviews were all recorded on video. I think it was a BBC documentary as well that was first made about this. Dr. Mack asked each of the children to draw what the aliens and the craft looked like. So I've got some pictures on here for you. All of their stories and drawings matched. Dr. Mack said that from his years of psychiatric experience, he knows when people are lying or delusional. He completely believed their story. Even as adults, all of the kids maintain that they saw was real and that the aliens were trying to send a warning to mankind. So that's the last time that the aliens visited school. I think there might be a couple of other ones. I'll dig a few more out for you. But obviously I've had to leave it on the Ariel School one because it's probably the most well-known one, the most interviewed one. Everyone that saw this craft, even though they were very young, it's been burnt into their minds. They remember this implicitly like it happened yesterday. And like I said, one of the prefects had to run in and basically tell the teachers, look, the kids aren't lying, get out of here now, there's something going on. And it left a lot of them very, very upset. Like I say, the BBC went out there, Dr. John Mack went out there, and it was covered in the news, and it's still never been resolved today. So I know a lot of these experiences that people have been through. They've been told to keep quiet, told not to talk about it. And it's the same with every kind of experience like this. We encounter men in suits or government type officials coming along from some secret branch of the government to tell you to keep quiet or shut up. Which is why, this David Grush coming forward with the whistleblower thing is so important, I think. And just, again, what I want to see is the blue UK government. Come on, what is wrong with you? I don't care about what's going on with whatever. We need to sort out food prices. We need to sort out things like that. Yes, we do. And you guys aren't going to bloody sort it out. So we're going to have to sort that out ourselves somehow. I don't know how. But the UFO topic is something that we as citizens cannot investigate to the levels of what you guys know. And obviously, as this Five Eyes thing, which I'm going to be doing an episode on, where basically I believe it's the UK, Canada, New Zealand, Australia and America have a treaty, basically Five Eyes sort of thing, where they share and share information and technology from downed, unknown craft. So it doesn't necessarily mean alien, but something from China that they found, something from Russia, something from an enemy, as they call it. Because we, as countries, all have enemies, don't we, for some reason, even though we're all the bloody same. That's another topic I'm going to be getting into. So they're covering things up. And as we've seen from every single one of these reports, somewhere along the way, someone turned up, the government turned up and said, no, don't look here. This is, oh, nothing to see here. There's a big glowing thing behind you. Oh, it's just a new flashlight we're testing. Yeah. What's them things in body bags? Body bags? They're not body bags, sunshine. They're grow bags. It's a flashlight. We're testing it to see if it grows potatoes through closed grow bags. Now, leave the area or we'll blow your head off. Who knows anyway. So I hope you enjoyed that. Some hopefully things you've not heard there before, some events that have happened at schools or sightings by children that you've not heard before. And obviously, people take what children say with a pinch of salt most of the time, imaginations. But then again, as children, we are more open. We are more open to see the world that you can only see when you take magic mushrooms, the world that you can only see when you're on DMT. And we lose that as we grow up. So, maybe children do see things more than us because they're more acceptable, more receptible to it. And these aliens, these beings know that that's the case. Just like a ghost or something knows that these children can see them because they've got a more open heart and mind than we have as a bloody broken down adult. So right then, I thought I'd just get a siren out for you. Just one last time, just say thank you very much. So once again, if you are listening on Spotify, please give me a follow, give me a listen, download whatever we have to do on there. If you're watching on YouTube, go and check me out on Spotify as well. If you listen on Spotify, go check me out on YouTube. Please like and subscribe to my videos, please. I hate having to say it, but it really does help the channel. And so I'm going to be covering some more ancient apocalypse stuff, looking into ancient civilizations. I'm going to be finally doing the Graham Hancock video that I've been on about for ages, where I'm going to be talking about why a lot of people don't like Graham Hancock in the archaeological community, and looking into obviously what we've seen since the Younger Dryas Impact Hypothesis came out. Since all this, the books about America before and things, and the new findings at Göbekli Tepe and Karahan Tepe, which I'm finally going to do some videos on. I do apologise, I've been extremely busy with work. That's why I'm just chucking this video together for you at the minute about the schools, to see obviously what we can find out in between about David Grush's experience and stuff. So if you're interested in possible ancient civilizations, I'm going to have a little talk about that, and we'll be having a look into whatever new evidence has been found, or, like I said, Karahan Tepe, Göbekli Tepe, what else has been found there, how far does it go back? It's believed to be over 14,000 years in a minute. So, hey, who knows? So once again, thank you very much for listening to me waffle on. And if you've got any topic you'd like me to cover, please leave me a comment. If you've got anything you'd like to just say about a channel, again, leave me a comment, leave me a message. If you listen on Spotify, fill in the questions below. And I will see you next time. Thank you for subscribing. It sure does mean a lot. If you're listening on Spotify, I love to see your rating. I'm gonna gonna say good night because I can't think of anything else to sing. Once again, thank you very much, folks. Cue the title sequence, or the ending sequence, or the whatever you...